Unveiling Shakespeare's Secrets. The Ultimate King Lear Study Guide. Welcome, fellow seekers of literary enlightenment, to the Ultimate King Lear Study Guide, brought to you by bilingualbard.com. Are you prepared to embark on a voyage into the depths of Shakespeare's timeless tragedy like never before? Whether you find yourself steeped in the rich tapestry of Shakespearean literature, or are just dipping your toes into the waters of the bard's works for the first time, this comprehensive video guide is tailor-made to unlock the mysteries of King Lear and enrich your understanding of this masterful piece of art. Here at bilingualbard.com, we are driven by a fervent commitment to making Shakespeare's illustrious works accessible to all. That's why we proudly offer bilingual editions of his plays for those who yearn to immerse themselves in a new language. Learning a new language should be a joyous journey, not a daunting task. At Bilingual Bard, we've got you covered. Explore our extensive collection of bilingual editions and embark on a voyage of language and literature unlike any other. In this enlightening video, we will plunge headfirst into the intricate tapestry of scenes, themes, characters, and quotes that define King Lear. Through insightful analysis and invaluable tips, we will illuminate every corner of this iconic play. From the tangled web of family dynamics to the eternal inquiries into power and authority, prepare to be guided through the labyrinthine corridors of King Lear's narrative with the expertise of seasoned literary navigators. Whether you're delving into King Lear for academic pursuits, gearing up for a spellbinding theatrical performance, or simply seeking to broaden your literary horizons, this study guide stands as your steadfast companion. Get ready to unearth the treasures concealed within the pages of King Lear and embark on an unforgettable odyssey through the realm of Shakespearean tragedy. But wait, there's more. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for a steady stream of enlightening educational content, and be sure to visit bilingualbard.com to peruse our full array of bilingual editions of Shakespeare's works. Learning has never been more exhilarating. Join us on this exhilarating literary adventure today. All right, folks, let's kick off our journey into the heart of King Lear with a scene-by-scene breakdown of Shakespeare's masterpiece. Act 1. Scene 1. In the dim-lit corners of Kingdom's secrets, the Earl of Kent and the Earl of Gloucester exchange words, heavy with the weight of whispered truths. Gloucester, a wily fox with a crooked grin, jests about the illicit origins of his son Edmund, a bastard birthed in shadows. Edgar, unwittingly dragged into the mire of familial deceit, is introduced to Kent, a man whose loyalty is a fortress against the tides of treachery. Enter King Lear, his crown a tarnished relic of faded glory, flanked by the Dukes of Albany and Cornwall, and the triumvirate of his daughters, each a vessel of ambition or love. Lear, in his folly, seeks to parcel out his realm amongst his progeny, a gambit of vanity played upon the board of his own hubris. Goneril and Regan, adept in the art of deception, spin silk-spun words to ensnare their father's favor. But Cordelia, her tongue forged in the fires of honesty, refuses to partake in this charade. In a tempest of rage, Lear casts her aside, cleaving her share of the kingdom like a blade through silk. Kent, bound by the chains of honor, dares to counsel the king against his folly. Yet Lear, blinded by pride, banishes his loyal servant into the abyss. Amidst this whirlwind of familial strife, suitors flock like carrion birds to a feast. Burgundy, a noble fool, recoils at Cordelia's dowryless hand, while the King of France, bold and undeterred, claims her as his queen. As the curtain falls on this tragedy in the making, Cordelia's heart weeps for sisters who wear love as a mask, and Lear, in his twilight years, unwittingly seals his own fate. Act 1. Scene 2. Enter Edmund, Gloucester's illegitimate son, a serpent coiled in the shadows of legitimacy. With honeyed words and forged letters he weaves a web of deceit to ensnare his brother Edgar in their father's wrath. Gloucester, blinded by paternal love and rage, falls prey to Edmund's villainous machinations. The bastard, reveling in his wickedness, muses on the frailty of human nature, where base desires reign supreme and gods are but convenient scapegoats. Edgar, innocent and unsuspecting, becomes a pawn in his brother's game of treachery, a lamb led to slaughter in the theater of their father's folly. Act 1. Scene 3. Goneril, with the heart as cold as the winter winds, confers with Oswald, her faithful steward, on how to reign in her father's unruly retinue. Lear's once mighty roar reduced to a feeble whimper, as his court descends into chaos. With calculating eyes and a mind as sharp as a dagger's edge, Goneril plots to strip her father of his power and dignity, to crush him beneath the weight of her ambition. Act 1. Scene 4. Disguised in the cloak of a humble servant, Kent, banished but unbroken, finds his way back to Lear's side. Amidst the madness of Lear's court, where pride and folly hold sway, Kent stands as a lone bastion of reason. Oswald, the insolent knave, earns Lear's ire with every disrespectful word. Lear's hand strikes out, and Kent, swift as a shadow, trips the arrogant steward. The fool, with jests as sharp as a dagger's edge, dances in the court of madness, a mirror reflecting Lear's folly. As Goneril enters, a storm brews between father and daughter, a clash of wills that threatens to tear the kingdom asunder. Act 1. Scene 5. Lear, with his fool and the steadfast Kent in tow, wanders in the wilderness of his own making. In his heart the seeds of madness begin to sprout, tendrils of confusion entwining his thoughts. The fool, with his cap and bells, speaks truths veiled in jest, a sage in motley. And as Lear, lost in the labyrinth of his own mind, teeters on the brink of madness, the stage is set for tragedy to unfold. Act 2. Scene 1. In the quiet shadows of Gloucester's castle, Edmund and his confidant Curan share whispers of the impending arrival of Regan and Cornwall. Like two spiders weaving a web of intrigue, they spin tales of feuds and rivalries that grip the kingdom. As Curan slips away into the night, Edmund's mind churns with dark machinations. His father, Gloucester, a pawn in his schemes, ready to pounce upon Edgar like a hunter stalking prey. When Edgar enters, Edmund plays the puppet master, warning him of their father's approach and urging him to flee. With the stage set for treachery, Gloucester enters, a pawn in Edmund's game of manipulation. With honeyed words and deceitful smiles, Edmund paints a picture of Edgar as a traitor, a viper in their midst. Gloucester, blinded by paternal love and folly, condemns his own flesh and blood to death. Enter Cornwall, Regan, and their entourage, drawn by whispers of betrayal and intrigue. Gloucester confirms the rumors of Edgar's treason, while Regan shifts blame onto Lear's knights for corrupting her brother's soul. Cornwall, with a cold smile and a heart of stone, praises Edmund's loyalty and promises swift justice for Edgar's crimes. Act 2. Scene 2. Cloaked in disguise, Kent arrives at Gloucester's abode, a lone wolf amidst a den of wolves. As Oswald greets him, Kent's tongue lashes out like a whip, striking at the heart of his enemy. Edmund, Goneril, Cornwall, and Gloucester converge, drawn by the spectacle of discord. Cornwall, with a swift hand and a cruel smile, condemns Kent to the stocks for his insolence. Gloucester, torn between duty and loyalty, offers feeble protest before yielding to Cornwall's will. Alone with Kent, Gloucester extends a hand of regret, a frail attempt at reconciliation amidst gathering storm clouds. And as the winds of fate begin to howl, Kent produces a letter from Cordelia, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Act 2. Scene 3. Alone in the shadows, Edgar steps onto the stage, a fugitive from justice. Branded an outlaw, he embraces the darkness, preparing to shed his identity like a serpent shedding its skin. With deft hands, he smears dirt across his face, tangles his hair into disarray, and sheds his garments until he stands on the brink of nakedness. This is his disguise, his armor against the world, a cloak of madness to shield him from the eyes of his pursuers. And as he disappears into the night, a phantom in the wilderness, the stage is set for his descent into the abyss of feigned insanity. Act 2. Scene 4. Lear and his fool stumble upon Kent in the stocks, a sight that defies belief. As confusion reigns, the fool, with words heavy with meaning, foretells of doom on the horizon. Lear, his mind a tempest of rage and confusion, seeks answers that elude him like shadows in the night. Regan and Cornwall emerge from their fortress, casting judgment upon Kent and Lear with the cold detachment of executioners. Regan, with words as sharp as knives, accuses Lear of folly and recklessness, a charge he meets with defiance and curses. Amidst the chaos, Goneril and Oswald enter, followed by a storm that rages both within and without. Cornwall's grip tightens around Lear's throat, while Goneril and Regan conspire to strip their father of his dignity and retinue. As the curtain falls on this tableau of betrayal and madness, Lear, with his heart a fortress against the storm, cries out into the night, a solitary voice against the howling winds of fate. Act 3. Scene 1. In the open expanse of the countryside, Kent and a loyal servant meet under the brooding sky. Kent, his voice weathered by hardship, shares three bitter truths. The king, alone save for his fool, braves the storm's fury. Albany and Cornwall engage in bitter conflict, and the King of France sends troops, seizing opportunity amidst England's chaos. With urgency etched upon his brow, Kent dispatches the servant to Dover, bearing a ring as a token of Cordelia's trust. With grim resolve, they part ways, each a lone sentinel in the wild, calling out into the darkness for their king. Act 3, Scene 2. Lear and his fool traverse the windswept moors, buffeted by nature's wrath. Lear, his voice a thunderclap amidst the storm, rages against his daughters in the heavens above. The fool, with words sharp as flint, attempts to quench the fire of his master's fury, urging him towards shelter. Enter Kent, shrouded in disguise, a solitary figure in the tempest. With a heart heavy with concern, he leads Lear towards refuge, though the king's mind teeters on the brink of madness. Lear, his thoughts scattered like leaves in the wind, surrenders to the storm's fury, his sanity slipping away like grains of sand through his fingers. As they seek solace within a humble hut, the fool's words carry a foreboding prophecy, a portent of upheaval in England's tumultuous future. Act 3, Scene 3. Amidst the halls of Gloucester's castle, Edmund and his father share a sombre exchange. Gloucester bemoans the state of affairs, cast out from his own home for daring to speak against the tyranny of Lear's daughters. In Edmund's honeyed words, Gloucester finds fleeting comfort, unaware of the viper coiled within his own kin. As Gloucester departs, Edmund, alone upon the stage, reveals his dark intentions. With eyes alight with ambition, he vows to hasten his rise to power by betraying his own father, a path paved with treachery and deceit. Act 3, Scene 4. In the heart of the storm, Kent leads Lear towards the shelter of a humble hut. Reluctant at first, Lear yields to reason, though his mind remains a whirlwind of anguish and confusion. Within the sanctuary of the hut, a voice calls out from the darkness, that of Edgar disguised as poor Tom, a madman lost amidst the storm's fury. As Lear and Edgar converse, a bond forms between them, forged in the crucible of shared suffering. Gloucester arrives, offering sanctuary from the storm's wrath. But Lear, ever the philosopher in his madness, seeks counsel from poor Tom. As Lear and Edgar engage in private discourse, Kent and Gloucester share their fears and doubts, a chorus of lamentation amidst the storm symphony. Act 3, Scene 5. Back within Gloucester's castle, Edmund and Cornwall take the stage, harbingers of darkness and strife. Cornwall vows vengeance upon Gloucester, while Edmund, consumed by ambition, fears the judgment of others for siding against his own father. With whispered words of treachery, Edmund pledges his loyalty to Cornwall in exchange for power and privilege, a Faustian bargain sealed in blood and betrayal. Act 3, Scene 6. Within the humble confines of the hut, Lear, the fool, Kent in disguise, and Edgar in guise find respite from the storm's fury. As Gloucester departs, madness grips Edgar, while the fool's jests serve as a counterpoint to Lear's despair. In moments of clarity, Lear conducts a mock trial for his treacherous daughters, a tragicomedy of madness and sorrow. Kent and the fool play their parts in this melancholy drama, while Edgar, moved by Lear's suffering, struggles to maintain his facade of madness. As Gloucester returns, urging haste towards Dover, a plot to end the king's life unfurls in the darkness, leaving Gloucester a blinded victim of his own trust. Act 3. Scene 7. Amidst the darkened halls of Gloucester's castle, Cornwall, Regan, Goneril, and Edmund convene, a council of treachery and deceit. Cornwall announces the arrival of the French army and dispatches servants to find Gloucester. Enter Oswald, bearing news of Gloucester's betrayal. In a frenzy of fury and vengeance, Cornwall orders Gloucester bound and mutilated, a sacrifice to sate his wrath. As the blood flows and screams pierce the night, Gloucester's world descends into darkness, his very eyes torn from their sockets by the hands of his own kin. In the aftermath of this grisly spectacle, as Regan and Cornwall depart, the servants left behind mourn the injustice of their masters, a chorus of voices crying out against the cruelty of their lords. With hearts heavy with sorrow, they vow to follow Gloucester into the night, a beacon of compassion in a world consumed by darkness. Act 4. Scene 1. In the shadows of inner turmoil, Edgar steps forth, veiled in the cloak of disguise. His voice, like the whispers of forgotten dreams, resonates through the desolate landscape. With a heavy heart he muses on the fickle nature of change, a beacon of uncertain hope in the darkness. A humble peasant, guided by loyalty, leads Gloucester, now robbed of sight, onto the stage. Gloucester, his voice haunted by anguish, seeks solace in the arms of the unknown. As Edgar approaches, shedding the facade of madness, Gloucester, lost in the labyrinth of his own despair, places his trust in the enigmatic stranger. With a solemn exchange, Gloucester implores Edgar to guide him to the cliffs of Dover, where he seeks refuge in the oblivion of the abyss. Act 4. Scene 2. Goneril and Edmund emerge from the shadows, their silhouettes cast against the backdrop of treachery. Oswald, a spectre of deceit, lingers at their side. His words, like poisoned arrows, pierce the air, heralding Albany's wavering loyalty. Goneril, her voice dripping with contempt, denounces her husband's perceived weakness. With a kiss, she pledges her allegiance to Edmund, the embodiment of her ambition. As Edmund takes his leave, Goneril, cloaked in shadows of her own making, reflects on his superiority over her husband. Albany's arrival ignites a tempest of words as he condemns Goneril's betrayal and foretells divine retribution. The stage is set for a reckoning, as the sins of Gloucester's kin are laid bare. Act 4. Scene 3. Kent and a companion share a moment of quiet contemplation, their voices carrying the weight of impending conflict. With the departure of the King of France and Cordelia's struggle, Kent's missives ignite a spark of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. News of the impending clash between Albany and Cornwall's forces sends ripples of uncertainty through the air as they vow to seek out the king. Act 4. Scene 4. Cordelia strides onto the stage, her presence a beacon of resilience amidst the storm. With the doctor and soldiers in tow, She seeks solace for her father's fractured mind. In the shadow of impending battle they depart with purpose, leaving echoes of uncertainty in their wake. Act 4. Scene 5. Regan and Oswald share a moment of whispered conspiracies, their voices barely audible against the backdrop of betrayal. Regan's fears of Edmund's vengeance cast a pall over their exchange, while Oswald's loyalty hangs in the balance. In a bid to curry favor with the rising power, Regan implores Oswald to deliver her letter, setting the stage for further intrigue. Act 4. Scene 6. Gloucester follows the enigmatic Edgar, his steps heavy with resignation. Each footfall echoes the weight of his sorrow as he marches towards the precipice of despair. Yet, as he teeters on the brink of oblivion, fate intervenes, offering a fleeting reprieve from his self-imposed fate. Awakening to a world shrouded in shadows, Gloucester encounters Edgar's fabricated tale of spectral intervention. Lear's entrance, a tempest of madness in human form, offers a fleeting glimpse of clarity amidst the chaos. In a moment of lucidity, Lear recognizes Gloucester, offering his eyes as vessels for shared sorrow. As Cordelia's servants arrive, intent on rescue, Oswald emerges with murderous intent. In a deadly dance of fate, Edgar emerges victorious, unveiling the dark designs of Goneril and Edmund. Act 4. Scene 7. Cordelia, Kent, and the doctor convene, their hearts heavy with concern for Lear's fractured mind. In a tender exchange, Cordelia expresses gratitude for Kent's unwavering loyalty. As Lear awakens, his mind still ensnared in the web of madness, Cordelia offers words of solace, her presence a beacon of hope in the gathering storm. With Lear's condition stabilizing, Cordelia leads him away, leaving Kent and his companion to ponder the shifting tides of fate. Act 5. Scene 1. In the twilight of impending strife, Edmund and Regan make their entrance, their voices dripping with intrigue. Edmund, a puppeteer of his own fate, probes for signs of Albany's allegiance, dispatching a messenger into the shadows of uncertainty. Regan, her eyes glinting with hidden desires, dances on the edge of treachery, her words veiled in layers of deceit. As Albany and Goneril step into the fray, Regan's inner turmoil simmers beneath her composed facade, her heart torn between ambition and fear. Albany's concerns echo through the chamber, his resolve tested by the looming specter of war. Edgar, shrouded in the cloak of disguise, approaches with a revelation, igniting the flames of betrayal. As the others fade into the night, leaving Edmund alone with his thoughts, the stage is set for the final act of deception. Act 5. Scene 2. Cordelia guides Lear through the shadows of conflict, the distant echoes of battle haunting their every step. Edgar emerges, leading Gloucester to safety, their voices a whisper in the tempest of war. With a solemn exchange, father and son steel themselves for the inevitable confrontation. As they fade into the darkness, the stage is left cloaked in uncertainty. Act 5. Scene 3. Edmund strides onto the stage, his soldiers in tow, Lear and Cordelia at his mercy. With a command he dispatches them to their fate, his voice tinged with the chill of betrayal. Albany and Goneril enter, their voices a discordant symphony of power and ambition. Regan's faltering facade hints at the crumbling of her carefully constructed world, her grip on reality slipping with each passing moment. As tension mounts, Edmund's treachery is laid bare, igniting a firestorm of betrayal and bloodshed. With a herald's call, Edgar emerges from the shadows, his identity obscured but his purpose clear. The brothers clash in a dance of destiny, their swords flashing in the dim light of the stage. As Edmund falls, mortally wounded, the final curtain descends on a kingdom in turmoil. Goneril's flight signals the end of an era, her legacy tarnished by the stain of her own ambition. With Gloucester's passing, the stage is left draped in sorrow, a testament to the tragic folly of human greed. As Lear enters, carrying Cordelia's lifeless form, the weight of grief hangs heavy in the air. With his final breath, the old king surrenders his crown, leaving the stage to the whims of fate. And as the curtains fall, the echoes of a kingdom's downfall reverberate in the silence. Next up, let's delve deep into the souls that populate the stage, dissecting their essence with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Herein lies an in-depth character analysis. In the grand tapestry of this theatrical masterpiece, we encounter a figure whose visage mirrors the fragility of the human condition itself. Behold, a man of regal stature, yet shackled by the chains of his own hubris. A tragic hero, whose descent into madness echoes the symphony of his own undoing. This protagonist, draped in the robes of power and authority, struts upon the stage with the swagger of a king. His name, a whispered refrain upon the lips of courtiers and commoners alike, reverberates with the weight of destiny. Yet, beneath the veneer of sovereignty lies a soul laid bare, haunted by the shadows of doubt and disillusionment. At the outset, we witness him ensconced upon his throne, basking in the adulation of his subjects, his ego inflated by the siren song of flattery. He is Lear, the monarch whose kingdom teeters upon the precipice of upheaval. A man whose unyielding pride blinds him to the immutable truths that lurk beneath the surface of his dominion. But as the plot unfurls its twisted tendrils, we see cracks begin to form in Lear's facade, fissures wrought by the corrosive forces of betrayal and deceit. Cast from the ivory towers of his palace into the harsh embrace of exile, he is stripped bare, his crown tarnished by the ashes of his own folly. And yet, even in the throes of madness, Lear remains a figure of tragic grandeur, a testament to the frailty of mortal ambition and the capricious whims of fate. For in his descent from the pinnacle of power to the depths of despair, we find a reflection of our own mortality. A stark reminder that even the mightiest among us are but players upon life's stage, destined to be swept away by the relentless march of time. Enter Cordelia, the embodiment of filial devotion and unwavering love, whose noble spirit illuminates the tragic tapestry of Shakespeare's realm. From the outset, Cordelia stands apart from the courtly machinations that grip her father's kingdom, her integrity unblemished by the allure of flattery and deceit. When called upon to proclaim her love for Lear in exchange for her inheritance, she refuses to bend to the whims of vanity, choosing instead to speak truth to power, regardless of the consequences. Cast aside by her father's wrath, Cordelia finds herself adrift in a world that prizes falsehood over authenticity, her dowry stripped away like a jewel cast into the abyss. Yet, even in exile, she remains resolute in her principles, finding solace in the arms of the King of France, whose love for her transcends the trappings of material wealth. Throughout the tumultuous events that unfold upon the stage, Cordelia's presence is felt like a guiding light, her absence a palpable void in the hearts of those who yearn for righteousness in a world gone mad. And when she returns to Britain, leading French forces in a valiant effort to restore order, her arrival heralds a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos of war. But alas, fate is a cruel mistress, and Cordelia's noble quest for justice ends in tragedy, her life extinguished by the cruel machinations of those who seek to snuff out the light of goodness in the world. And yet, even in death, her legacy endures, a saintly figure whose unwavering loyalty to her father serves as a testament to the enduring power of love and righteousness in the face of adversity. Goneril, the epitome of villainy, stalks the stage with a venomous grace, her heart blackened by ambition and her soul tainted by treachery. From the outset, Goneril masks her true intentions behind a veil of false affection, feigning love for her father while plotting his downfall with the skill of a seasoned conspirator. With honeyed words and dagger-sharp wit, she undermines Lear's authority, eroding the very foundation of his power until his kingdom lies in ruins at her feet. Bound by marriage to the Duke of Albany, Goneril's union with her husband becomes a battleground, their love soured by the poison of ambition and resentment. As she claws her way to the pinnacle of power, her relationship with Albany crumbles beneath the weight of their mutual contempt, leaving naught but bitterness in its wake. But Goneril's thirst for dominion knows no bounds, and in her quest for supremacy, she forms an unholy alliance with the treacherous Edmund, whose soul mirrors her own in its depravity. Together, they conspire to orchestrate the downfall of their enemies, their hearts consumed by a lust for power that knows no mercy. Yet, even as her schemes unravel and her world crumbles around her, Goneril remains defiant to the last. With poison-laced lips, she dispatches her own sister Regan in a bid to secure her place atop the throne, before turning the blade upon herself in a final act of defiance against the cruel hand of fate. In the annals of villainy, Goneril stands as a dark beacon of malevolence, her name whispered in hushed tones as a cautionary tale of the depths to which humanity can sink in pursuit of power and glory. And as the curtain falls upon her shattered existence, we are left to ponder the tragic consequences of unchecked ambition and the price of betrayal in a world consumed by darkness. Amidst the shifting sands of loyalty and betrayal stands Regan, a figure whose outward veneer of affection masks a heart as cold and calculating as the winter's chill. At the onset of the tale, Regan, like her sister Goneril, cloaks herself in the cloak of filial love, professing adoration for her father while weaving a web of deceit to undermine his authority. With honeyed words and false promises, she leads Lear to believe in her loyalty, only to cast him out into the raging tempest of his own folly. As the storm of Lear's wrath descends upon the kingdom, Regan's true nature emerges from the shadows. With a ruthless cunning that rivals the darkest depths of the human psyche, she conspires to inflict unspeakable horrors upon the innocent, urging her husband, the Duke of Cornwall, to mete out a cruel punishment upon Gloucester. But it is in the crucible of conflict that Regan reveals the depths of her depravity. When a servant dares to defy her orders, she does not hesitate to wield the sword of her authority, striking him down without a moment's remorse. Her hand stained with blood, she revels in the brutality of her own actions, a chilling testament to the corruption that festers within her soul. Yet, even as she revels in the chaos of her own making, Regan finds herself ensnared in the tangled web of her own desires. Drawn into a forbidden affair with Edmund, she becomes entangled in a web of deceit and betrayal that will ultimately lead to her downfall. And when the final curtain falls upon the stage, it is not in triumph but in tragedy that Regan meets her end. Poisoned by the hand of her own sister Goneril, she departs from this world as she lived, in a maelstrom of deceit and treachery, her name forever enshrined in the annals of villainy as a cautionary tale of the dangers of ambition unchecked. Within the labyrinthine corridors of Shakespeare's realm, there exists a character whose Machiavellian machinations rival the darkness of the night itself. Let us peel back the layers of deception and deceit to uncover the essence of this enigmatic figure, a master manipulator whose very presence sends shivers down the spines of those who dare to cross his path. Enter Edmund, the cunning serpent coiled within the bosom of familial strife, a man whose heart knows no loyalty save for the pursuit of his own ambition. From the shadows he orchestrates a symphony of treachery, weaving a tangled web of lies and half-truths to ensnare his unwitting prey. At the outset we behold Edmund, the bastard son cast aside by society, nursing a seething resentment against the world that dared to reject him. With the venom of vengeance coursing through his veins, he sets his sights upon his noble brother, Edgar, plotting to usurp his birthright and claim the spoils of their father's kingdom as his own. But Edmund's ambitions know no bounds, for he is a man driven by insatiable desires, a predator prowling amidst the courtly intrigue, preying upon the weaknesses of those who dare to cross his path. He weaves a tangled web of seduction, ensnaring the affections of both Regan and Goneril in his poisonous embrace, using their desires as pawns in his game of manipulation. Yet, even as Edmund revels in the spoils of his deceit, he is not immune to the consequences of his actions. When the wheels of fate finally turn against him, and he stands accused of treason, he meets his end upon the battlefield, confronting the specter of his own mortality in the form of his long-forgotten brother Edgar. In his final moments, Edmund is a tragic figure, a man consumed by his own ambition, doomed to be swallowed whole by the very darkness he sought to harness. And as the curtain falls upon his shattered existence, we are left to ponder the fragility of the human soul and the eternal struggle between ambition and redemption. In the intricate dance of fate that unfolds upon the stage, there exists a character whose transformation from innocence to enlightenment mirrors the journey of the soul itself. Behold Edgar, the embodiment of resilience and redemption amidst the chaos of betrayal and deception. At the outset, we find Edgar ensnared in the web of his brother's deceit, his youthful naivety serving as a cloak for the treachery that lurks beneath the surface. Banished from his rightful place within the kingdom, he dons the guise of poor Tom, a mad beggar wandering the desolate streets, a facade that shields him from the prying eyes of his enemies while revealing the depths of his inner strength. But it is not merely in the shadows that Edgar finds his strength, for he is a man reborn amidst the crucible of adversity. With each passing trial he rises like a phoenix from the ashes of his former self, shedding the trappings of innocence to embrace the mantle of leadership that fate has bestowed upon him. In the climactic moments of the play, Edgar emerges as a beacon of justice in a world consumed by chaos, striking down the agents of treachery with a righteous fury that knows no bounds. And in the aftermath of the carnage, he ascends to his rightful place as joint ruler of the kingdom, a testament to the indomitable spirit that lies within us all, waiting to be awakened by the clarion call of destiny. In the court of Lear, amidst the thunderous clash of ambition and loyalty, there strides a nobleman whose unwavering allegiance to his king stands as a beacon of honor in a world beset by treachery and deceit. Meet the Earl of Gloucester, a figure of venerable wisdom and paternal devotion, whose tragic fate intertwines with the fate of the kingdom itself. Gloucester, with the weight of years etched upon his brow, is a pillar of loyalty within the tumultuous landscape of Lear's court. His fidelity to the aging monarch knows no bounds, and oftentimes he stands as a surrogate for the faltering king, a steadfast ally in times of turmoil. Yet, even the noblest hearts are not immune to the poison of deception, and Gloucester finds himself ensnared in the web of his own bloodline. Blinded by paternal love, he falls victim to the machinations of his illegitimate son, Edmund, whose treacherous schemes sow discord within the noble household. In a moment of tragic error, Gloucester casts aside his true heir Edgar, unwittingly sealing his own fate. But through the crucible of suffering, Gloucester's loyalty to Lear remains unshakable, a testament to the strength of his character and the depth of his honor. For his unwavering devotion, he is met with unspeakable cruelty at the hands of the Duke of Cornwall, who gouges out his eyes as punishment for his fidelity. Despair, like a spectre, haunts Gloucester's soul, driving him to the precipice of despair. In his darkest hour he seeks solace in the form of a humble beggar, unaware of the true identity of his companion. Together they journey to the cliffs of Dover, where Gloucester's mortal coil finds its final release, a tragic end to a life defined by loyalty and sacrifice. In the annals of tragedy, the Earl of Gloucester stands as a testament to the enduring power of honor and allegiance, his legacy immortalized in the hearts of those who bear witness to his noble sacrifice. Coming up next in this video, we're going to dig into the meat of King Lear. We'll strip away the fancy talk and get to the heart of the matter, exploring the themes and motifs that make this play a gritty masterpiece. So grab a seat and get ready for some straight talk. Listen up, because in King Lear, aging is the heavyweight champ calling the shots. The whole damn play kicks off, because Lear's tired of carrying the weight of the crown on his weary shoulders. He's ready to pass the torch and take a load off, but you better believe it ain't gonna be smooth sailing. Lear's daughters, they're like vultures circling overhead, waiting for their chance to swoop in and snatch up what's left of his kingdom. They're not exactly thrilled about dear old Dad wanting to kick back and relax. They think he's dragging his feet, clinging to power like it's the last sip of whiskey in a dry county. And let's not forget about Gloucester and his boys. Edmund's pulling a fast one on his old man, scheming to climb the ladder of success faster than you can say backstabber. He's not about to sit around waiting for dear old Dad to shuffle off this mortal coil. It's a clash of generations, a battle between the old guard and the young guns, and it's enough to make even the toughest son of a gun crack under the pressure. But hey, that's life, right? The struggle for power and respect never gets old, no matter how many candles you've blown out on your birthday cake. So raise a glass to aging, my friends, because in the world of King Lear, it's the driving force behind every twist and turn in this wild ride we call life. Family, family. The very marrow of life, tangled in a web of duty, love, and betrayal. Shakespeare, he knew the pulse of the human heart, didn't he? Take Lear, for instance, a king torn between power and paternal love, a man who seeks assurance in words, not realizing they are but fleeting shadows cast upon the stage of life. A kingdom divided, a father's trust misplaced, and therein lies the tragedy. Gloucester, chuckling at the folly of his youth, sires a son out of wedlock, a secret that festers like a wound unseen until it bursts forth, staining the very fabric of his kin. And then there's Edmund, that bastard child, the product of society's scorn. His soul, a cauldron of resentment and ambition, fueled by the flames of illegitimacy. Oh, the bitter fruits of social order. But it is Lear. Oh, Lear, who embodies the yearning for familial love. His heart a vast expanse, craving validation from his progeny. Yet, like a blind man stumbling in the dark, he fails to see the truth behind their words. Cordelia, his beacon of honesty, punished for her virtue. In this dance of power and passion, Shakespeare lays bare the intricate tapestry of family, where love and duty collide, leaving naught but shattered dreams and broken hearts in their wake. Another theme in King Lear is madness and foolishness, twin specters that haunt the corridors of the human mind. Shakespeare, he understood their dance well, didn't he? In the realm of Lear, reason falters, stumbling over the jagged stones of self-interest and blind trust. A kingdom adrift in a fog of its own making, where clarity is but a distant memory. Enter the fool, that wily jester, his jests a cloak for truths too bitter to swallow. With biting wit and keen insight he pierces through the veil of deception, laying bare the folly of kings and their courts. Oh, how the crown weighs heavy on Lear's brow, his misjudgments laid bare for all to see. And then there's the physician, a harbinger of modernity in a world steeped in superstition. No longer do they turn to prayers and incantations. Instead, they seek solace in the cold embrace of science. A subtle shift, yet a profound one, marking the dawn of a new era. In madness and foolishness, Shakespeare finds clarity, a paradoxical truth that cuts to the marrow of human existence. For it is in our moments of madness that we see with unclouded eyes, and in our foolishness that we speak with untainted tongues. The delicate balance of order, shattered like glass in the hands of a careless child. Lear, in his folly, dares to disrupt the natural order of things, tearing asunder the very fabric of his kingdom, his household, and his kin. And who but the fool, that gesture of truth to lay bare the folly of kings? In the court of chaos, loyalty becomes treason, and love turns to ashes. Cordelia and Kent, paragons of devotion, cast out into the wilderness for their steadfastness. Brothers torn asunder. Edmund, consumed by envy, casts aside filial bonds like discarded rags. And in the depths of despair, Lear, with trembling lips and heart heavy as lead, invokes curses upon his own flesh and blood. A curse to wither the womb, to halt the flow of life itself. A twisted perversion of nature's grand design. In each twist and turn of fate, Shakespeare whispers of the fragility of order, the tenuous thread that binds us all. For when order falters, chaos reigns supreme, and even the mightiest of kings are but pawns in the game of destiny. Vision. That elusive beacon that guides us through the labyrinth of existence. In Lear's kingdom, sight is not merely a physical sensation, but a metaphor for understanding, for seeing beyond the surface of things. Even before he graces the stage, whispers of change swirl around Lear like leaves caught in a tempest. Kent and Gloucester, they speak of him in hushed tones, as if sensing the shifting sands beneath his feet. But oh, how quickly the illusion shatters, revealing the frailty of human perception. Lear, in his arrogance, believes he can peer into the very souls of his daughters, yet he is blind to the truth that lies before him. Their words, like poisoned daggers, find their mark, leaving him wounded and alone. And Kent, that loyal servant, dons the mask of deception, a cloak woven from shadows and half-truths. Yet Lear, in his blindness, fails to recognize the faithful heart beneath the guise. In this dance of sight and blindness, Shakespeare weaves a tapestry of human folly, where the eyes deceive and the heart yearns for clarity. For in the kingdom of Lear, true vision eludes even the most discerning eye, leaving naught but shadows in its wake. Loyalty. That fragile thread that binds us to one another, yet so easily frays in the face of adversity. Shakespeare, ever the astute observer of human nature, lays bare the complexities of loyalty in the kingdom of Lear. In a world where family should be the bedrock of loyalty, betrayal lurks in the shadows like a silent serpent. Lear the patriarch expects unwavering devotion from his kin, yet finds naught but deceit and treachery at every turn. Sons should honor their father, daughters should reverence their king, but alas, such ideals are but hollow echoes in the halls of power. And yet, beneath the veneer of social niceties lies a deeper truth. Shakespeare, in his wisdom, recognizes that loyalty is not merely a virtue, but a cornerstone of society itself. When bonds are broken, when trust is shattered, the very fabric of the nation begins to unravel. In Lear's tragic tale, we see the consequences of fractured loyalties writ large upon the stage. A kingdom in turmoil. A king undone by the very ones he held closest to his heart. For in the end, it is not the swords of enemies that deal the deadliest blow, but the daggers of betrayal wielded by those we once called kin. In the grand tapestry of King Lear, Shakespeare deftly weaves threads of symbolism, each strand intertwining with the narrative to imbue the story with deeper meaning. Objects, events, and states of being take on dual roles, serving both literal and symbolic purposes, enriching the drama and inviting reflection. The first symbol in King Lear that we will explore is the crown, that gilded emblem of power and prestige, coveted by kings and coveted by fools. In Lear's kingdom, its significance extends beyond mere adornment, embodying the very essence of sovereignty and folly alike. Lear, in his misguided wisdom, seeks to divide his realm, casting aside his crown as if it were a trinket to be bartered away. And oh, how the fool, that sage in motley, jests at his expense, laying bare the folly of kings with the simple act of splitting an egg. Two halves, two crowns, yet neither worth the shell they're cracked from. The fool's jest cuts deeper than any sword, revealing the emptiness of Lear's ambition and the hollowness of his legacy. For what is a crown without a kingdom to rule, but a bauble fit for jesters and fools? In this comedic tragedy, Shakespeare weaves a tapestry of irony, where crowns are but symbols of vanity, and kings are but pawns in the game of fate. For in the end it is not the crown that defines the king, but the choices he makes and the legacy he leaves behind. The storm, that tempestuous symphony of nature's wrath, raging across the heath like a wounded beast. In King Lear it is more than mere meteorological phenomenon. It is a canvas upon which Shakespeare paints the tumultuous landscape of human frailty and folly. Lear, in his anguish, finds kinship with the storm, its violence a mirror to the betrayal he suffers at the hands of his own flesh and blood. As lightning rends the sky and thunder shakes the earth, so too does Lear's mind quake with confusion and despair, his sanity buffeted by the winds of fate. And oh, the wind, that fickle messenger of change, whispering secrets and portents on its ethereal breath. In King Lear it carries with it the seeds of upheaval, heralding the coming storm of chaos and destruction. Winds of change, they call it, and indeed change it brings, sweeping away the old order to make way for the new. Through the storm and wind, Shakespeare reminds us of the fragility of human existence, the ever-present specter of chaos lurking just beyond the horizon. In their savage beauty, we find echoes of our own tumultuous souls, buffeted by the currents of destiny, yet ever striving to find solace in the calm eye of the storm. Blindness, that metaphorical veil that shrouds the truth and obscures the path of wisdom. In King Lear, Shakespeare explores the myriad facets of this motif, weaving a tapestry of sight and blindness, both literal and metaphorical. Lear, in his arrogance, is blind to the true nature of those around him, unable to see the love shining in Cordelia's eyes or the deceit festering in the heart of his own flesh and blood. His sight, clouded by pride and vanity, leads him down a path of folly and ruin, his kingdom crumbling around him like a house of cards. And Gloucester, poor Gloucester, robbed of his physical sight, yet still blinded by his own naivety. Unable to see the treachery lurking in the shadows, he falls victim to the machinations of his own son, his world plunged into darkness with a single stroke. But it is not only the literal blindness that plagues our characters. It is the blindness of the soul, the inability to see beyond the surface of things. Kent, disguised yet still unrecognized, stands as a testament to this, his loyalty and devotion going unnoticed by the very man he serves. Through the motif of blindness, Shakespeare reminds us of the folly of pride and the dangers of ignorance. For in the kingdom of Lear it is not the eyes that see, but the heart that truly perceives. Letters. Those silent messengers that bridge the gap between worlds, carrying with them the weight of truth and the whispers of destiny. In King Lear, Shakespeare employs these missives as more than mere plot devices. They become symbols of authority and trust, weaving a web of intrigue and revelation. In an age where words held the power to shape destinies, literacy was a rare gift, a mark of distinction reserved for the privileged few. To receive a letter was to hold a piece of the world in one's hands, a tangible connection to the wider tapestry of existence. And oh, the symbolic weight of these missives, each word a brushstroke upon the canvas of fate. From Cordelia's heartfelt plea to Lear, to Edmund's cunning manipulation of his father's trust, the letters in King Lear serve as windows into the souls of their authors, revealing the depths of their desires and the machinations of their hearts. But it is not only the content of the letters that holds significance. It is the very act of writing itself. In a world where truth is often obscured by deceit and manipulation, the written word stands as a beacon of clarity, a testament to the power of honesty and integrity. Through the motif of letters, Shakespeare invites us to ponder the nature of communication and the role it plays in shaping our understanding of the world. For in the kingdom of Lear, where chaos reigns supreme, it is often through the written word that truth finds its voice, whispering secrets and revelations to those with ears to hear. So there you have it, folks. These are the themes and motifs that make King Lear a gritty, gut-wrenching masterpiece that'll leave you reeling. Next up, we'll explore our favorite quotes from King Lear. Well, that's like asking a man to pick his favorite whiskey. You can't just choose one. Those lines are like echoes in the dark, haunting you long after the curtain falls. Let's get started. Nothing will come of nothing. Speak again. King Lear, Act 1, Scene 1. Ah, those words cut deeper than a knife in the gut. Lear, he's like a man grasping at smoke, trying to hold on to something that was never really there. And Cordelia, she's the voice of reason in a world gone mad, refusing to play the game of false flattery and empty words. It's a scene marked by tragedy and foreboding, where the seeds of destruction are sown with each passing word. Lear, blinded by his own vanity, fails to see the truth staring him in the face, while Cordelia, in her silence, speaks volumes. And in the end, it's Lear who's left with nothing but regrets and shattered dreams. For in the kingdom of fools it's the wise who are left standing alone in the rubble, their hearts heavy with the weight of what could have been. I am made of that self-same metal as my sister, and prize me at her worth. Regan. Act 1. Scene 1. Ah, Regan, with her honeyed words dripping with deceit. She speaks of love and loyalty, yet her heart is as black as night. Like her sister Goneril, she's a wolf in sheep's clothing, masking her true intentions with false piety. But oh, how the truth shines through the cracks in her facade. She claims to share the same metal as her sister, to prize herself at the same worth, but in reality they're cut from the same cloth of treachery and betrayal. In this kingdom of shadows, where loyalty is but a fleeting illusion, Regan stands as a testament to the darkness that lurks within us all. For in the end, it's not the words we speak that define us, but the actions we take and the hearts we hold dear. And for Regan, that heart is as empty as the promises she makes. Peace, Kent. Come not between the dragon and his wrath. I loved her most and thought to set my rest on her kind nursery. King Lear. Act 1. Scene 1. Ah, Lear, with his words like thunderbolts and his heart as tempestuous as the storm. He fancies himself a dragon, a creature of mythic power and ferocity, ready to unleash his wrath upon any who dare to cross him. And yet, beneath that veneer of regal authority lies a man torn by inner turmoil, his emotions raging like a storm-tossed sea. He declares his love for Cordelia, his youngest and dearest, with the pride of a father who believes he knows best. But oh, how his words sting like arrows, piercing the hearts of his elder daughters with their bitter truth. To be cast aside in favor of a younger sibling, it's a wound that cuts deeper than any blade. And yet, in Lear's petulant outburst, we see not the might of a king, but the vulnerability of a man who feels his grip on power slipping away. Like a child denied his favorite toy, he lashes out in frustration, unable to comprehend why the world refuses to bend to his will. In this passage, Shakespeare holds up a mirror to the human condition, reflecting the frailty of pride and the folly of unchecked ambition. For in the kingdom of Lear, even dragons must face the consequences of their own fiery wrath. Thou, nature, art my goddess. To thy law my services are bound. Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom, and permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me, for that I am some 12 or 14 moonshines? Lag of a brother? Why bastard? Wherefore base? Edmund, Act 1. Scene 2. Ah, Edmund, with his fiery words burning like coals in the night. He rejects the shackles of society's judgment, defiant in the face of the labels they placed upon him. To him, nature is the only law worth obeying, a wisdom surpassing the petty whims of men. He questions the very fabric of society, daring to challenge the norms that have branded him with the mark of illegitimacy. Why should he be deemed a bastard simply because his parents were not wed? Why should he be relegated to the shadows while his brother reaps the benefits of legitimacy? There's a fire in Edmund's soul, a hunger for justice and recognition that burns brighter than the sun. And yet, beneath his bravado lies a dangerous arrogance, a belief that he alone knows the true path ordained by nature herself. In this declaration, Shakespeare sets the stage for Edmund's tragic journey, a quest for power and recognition that will ultimately lead to his downfall. For in the kingdom of men, even the mightiest rebels must bow before the laws of fate. How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. Away, away, King Lear. Act 1. Scene 4. Ah, Lear, with his words like a sword cutting through the night. He stands amidst the wreckage of his shattered dreams, betrayed by those he held closest to his heart. The sting of ingratitude cuts deeper than any blade, twisting like a serpent's fangs in his soul. His eldest daughter, once the apple of his eye, now a viper in his midst, her love turned to ash in the fires of ambition. The imagery of the serpent, laden with biblical weight, strikes a chord deep within the hearts of the audience, for it is a symbol as old as time itself, representing betrayal and deceit. Lear's anguish is palpable, his voice a lamentation in the wilderness. To be cast aside by his own flesh and blood, to be scorned by those he raised and nurtured, it's a wound that will never fully heal. In this moment of despair, Shakespeare captures the essence of parental agony, the bitter taste of betrayal mingling with the salt of tears. For in the kingdom of Lear, even the bonds of blood are not immune to the venom of treachery. That such a slave as this should wear a sword, who wears no honesty. Earl of Kent. Act 2, Scene 2. Ah, Kent, with his tongue sharp as a blade and his words dripping with scorn. He sees through the facade of nobility, cutting through the veil of deceit to expose the rot beneath. Oswald, that wretched knave, struts about with a sword at his side, a symbol of power and authority. And yet in his hands it's nothing but a mockery, a mere trinket to adorn his cowardly form. For a man who wears a sword should be a paragon of virtue, a knight of honor and integrity. But Oswald, he's nothing but a pawn in his mistress's game, a puppet dancing to her tune. In Kent's words we see a condemnation of the world turned upside down, where vice is rewarded and virtue is scorned. And in Oswald's emasculation we see a reflection of the chaos and disorder that reigns supreme in Lear's kingdom. For in the upside-down world of King Lear, even the symbols of power are tainted by corruption, and the noblest of men are brought low by the base desires of their hearts. Blow, winds, and crack your cheeks. Rage, blow. You cataracts and hurricanes, spout till you have drenched our steeples, drown the cocks. You sulphurous and thought-executing fires, vaunt couriers of oak-cleaving thunderbolts, singe my white head. King Lear. Act 3, Scene 2. Ah, Lear, with his voice like thunder echoing through the night, he stands amidst the fury of the storm, a man at war with the elements and with himself. The winds howl and the rains fall, but Lear stands firm, a titan amidst the chaos. He challenges the storm to unleash its wrath upon him, daring it to do its worst. In his defiance he becomes a force of nature himself, a god amongst mortals, challenging the very heavens to strike him down. But beneath the bravado lies a deeper truth. The storm is not just a tempest of wind and rain. It's a reflection of Lear's own inner turmoil, a metaphor for the raging tempest within his soul. He's losing himself, his mind slipping away like sand through his fingers, and in his madness he finds a strange kind of liberation. And yet, there's another layer to Lear's defiance, a subtle nod to the power dynamics at play. In challenging the storm, he's also challenging the women who have cast him out, the daughters who have betrayed him. It's a subtle commentary on the nature of power and control, and the consequences of challenging the status quo. In this moment, Shakespeare captures the essence of human frailty and resilience, the beauty and the terror of standing against the storm. For in the kingdom of Lear, even the mightiest of men must bow before the forces of nature and the whims of fate. I am a man more sinned against than sinning. King Lear. Act 3. Scene 2. Lear with his words like a dagger to the heart. He stands amidst the storm, a broken man seeking solace in the howling winds and driving rain. And yet, in his pain, there's a truth that cuts deeper than any storm could ever rage. He sees himself as a victim of circumstance, a pawn in the cruel game of fate. And indeed he has been wronged, betrayed by those he held dearest to his heart. But in his insistence on his own innocence, he overlooks the role he played in his own downfall. For in the kingdom of Lear, there are no innocent bystanders, only players in the tragic dance of fate. Lear may be more sinned against than sinning, but he is not without fault. His pride and vanity blinded him to the truth, leading him down a path of destruction from which there is no return. In this moment of self-reflection, Shakespeare invites us to ponder the nature of guilt and innocence, the blurred lines between victim and perpetrator. For in the storm-tossed sea of human existence, it's not always easy to discern where one ends and the other begins. Lest it see more, prevent it. Out, vile jelly, Duke of Cornwall. Act 3. Scene 7. Cornwall, with his words dripping like venom from the serpent's fang. In this moment of unspeakable cruelty, he reveals the true darkness that lurks within his soul. His actions are not merely an act of punishment. They are a manifestation of his twisted desires, a grotesque display of power and dominance. But it's not just Gloucester's physical sight that Cornwall seeks to extinguish. It's his dignity, his humanity. By reducing his eyes to vile jelly, he strips away the last vestiges of his identity, leaving him a mere shell of a man, a pitiful creature at the mercy of his tormentors. And yet, amidst the horror and the pain, there's a glimmer of defiance in Gloucester's eyes, a spark of resilience that refuses to be extinguished. Even as he is robbed of his sight, he clings to his humanity, his spirit unbroken by the cruelty of his oppressors. In this moment, Cornwall reveals himself not as a man of honor and dignity, but as a monster wearing the mask of a king. And in his depravity he exposes the true nature of power, a force capable of great good, but also of unspeakable evil. Like flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport. Earl of Gloucester, Act 4. Scene 1. Ah, Gloucester, with his words like a thunderclap in the storm. In his blindness he sees the world with a clarity that cuts to the core. He speaks of the cruelty of fate, the arbitrary whims of the divine, with a sorrow that echoes through the ages. As he wanders through the darkness, guided by a stranger's hand, he reflects on the nature of suffering, the relentless cruelty that plagues mankind. And yet, amidst the despair, there's a flicker of defiance in his voice, a refusal to bow before the capricious whims of fate. For in Gloucester's lament, there's a truth that resonates with all who have felt the sting of fate's cruel hand. We are but pawns in the cosmic game, tossed about by forces beyond our control. And yet, in our suffering, there's a resilience that cannot be extinguished, a flame that burns bright even in the darkest of nights. In this moment, Gloucester speaks not just for himself, but for all who have been crushed beneath the weight of fate's indifferent gaze. He is a beacon of truth in a world shrouded in darkness, a reminder that even in the face of despair, there is still hope to be found. O Goneril, you are not worth the dust which the rude wind blows in your face. I fear your disposition. Duke of Albany, Act 4, Scene 2. Ah, Albany, with his words like a thunderbolt in the stillness of the night. He stands before Goneril, his voice ringing with a clarity that cuts through the silence like a knife. There's no room for subtlety here, no hidden meanings or veiled intentions. Albany speaks his mind with a brutal honesty that leaves no room for doubt. He lays bare the truth of Goneril's character, stripping away the facade of respectability to reveal the darkness lurking beneath. She is not worthy of even the slightest shred of respect, he declares, not even the dust that clings to her feet. And in his words there's a warning, a glimpse of the fear that grips his heart at the thought of what she is capable of. For in Goneril's disposition lies a danger that cannot be ignored, a darkness that threatens to consume all who come into contact with it. And in Albany's words there's a plea for understanding, a desperate cry for someone to see the truth before it's too late. In this moment, Albany stands as a voice of reason in a world gone mad, a beacon of light amidst the encroaching darkness. He may fear his wife's disposition, but he refuses to be cowed by it, standing firm in his convictions even in the face of adversity. You do me wrong to take me out of the grave. Thou art a soul in bliss, but I am bound upon a wheel of fire, that mine own tears do scald like molten lead. King Lear, Act 4, Scene 7. Ah, Lear, with his words like ashes in the wind. He stands before Cordelia, his voice a whisper in the darkness of his own despair. In his mind he is already dead, a mere shadow of the king he once was. And yet, even in death he finds no peace, no respite from the torment that haunts his every waking moment. He speaks of his suffering in metaphor and symbol, painting a picture of a soul trapped in a hell of its own making. Bound upon a wheel of fire, he is consumed by his own anguish, his tears like molten lead scalding his flesh. And in his agony he sees Cordelia as a vision of purity and grace, a soul untouched by the flames that consume him. For in Lear's mind, there can be no redemption, no salvation from the sins of his past. He is condemned to wander the infernal depths of his own despair, forever tormented by the ghosts of his own making. And yet, amidst the darkness, there's a glimmer of hope in his words, a longing for the peace that has eluded him for so long. In this moment, Lear stands as a tragic figure, a king brought low by the weight of his own folly. He may be bound upon a wheel of fire, but his spirit remains unbroken, a beacon of light in the darkness of his own despair. Jesters do oft prove prophets. Regan. Act 5, Scene 3. Ah, Regan, with her words sharp as a dagger and twice as cutting. She stands before Goneril, her voice dripping with sarcasm and contempt. In her disdain for her sister's jest, she unwittingly touches upon a deeper truth that resonates throughout the play. For in the kingdom of Lear, it is often the jesters who see beyond the facade of royalty, who speak the unvarnished truth when others are blinded by their own ambitions and desires. Lear's fool, with his jests and jibes, serves as a mirror to the folly of those around him, his words carrying a weight far greater than their apparent levity. In this moment, Regan's dismissive remark serves as a reminder of the wisdom that can be found in unexpected places, a recognition of the prophetic insight often possessed by those deemed foolish or insignificant. For in the words of jesters there lies a truth that cuts to the heart of human folly, a truth that cannot be ignored or dismissed. In wisdom I should ask thy name, but since thy outside looks so fair and warlike, and that thy tongue some say of breeding breathes, what safe and nicely I might well delay by rule of knighthood, I disdain and spurn. Edmund. Act 5, Scene 3. Ah, Edmund, with his words like a dance of shadows in the moonlight. He stands before his unknown challenger, his voice dripping with a mixture of admiration and disdain. In his mind he acknowledges the noble bearing of his opponent, yet he cannot help but feel a sense of superiority, a pride in his own cunning and deceit. For in this moment the secondary plot of King Lear comes full circle, as Edmund finds himself confronted by the very forces he sought to manipulate. His first monologue, in which he rejects social constraints and embraces his own ambition, is mirrored here in his recognition of his opponent's noble bearing. And yet, even as he acknowledges the strength and nobility of his challenger, there's a hint of arrogance in Edmund's words, a belief in his own superiority that blinds him to the true nature of his opponent. For in the end, it is not strength of arms or noble bearing that will determine the outcome of this encounter, but the courage and integrity of the heart. Oh, you are men of stones. Had I your tongues and eyes, I'd use them so that heaven's vault should crack. She's gone forever. I know when one is dead and when one lives. She's dead as earth. Lend me a looking glass. If that her breath will mist or stain the stone, why, then she lives. King Lear. Act 5, Scene 3. Lear, with his cries like the wails of a wounded beast. He stands before the world, his heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, his voice a lamentation that echoes through the empty halls of his soul. In his arms he cradles the lifeless form of his beloved Cordelia, her pale face a stark reminder of the cruel hand of fate. The echoes of his earlier defiance ring in the air, a haunting reminder of the storms he once dared to challenge. But now faced with the unbearable weight of grief, he can do nothing but howl into the void, his words a desperate plea for release from the agony that grips his heart. For in this moment, Lear is a man undone, stripped of his pride and his power, laid bare before the merciless gaze of destiny. He knows that Cordelia is gone forever, lost to him in a way that no words can ever express. And yet, in his desperation, he clings to a sliver of hope, a flicker of light in the darkness of his despair. In his trembling hands he holds a looking glass, a fragile reflection of his shattered world. And in that mirror he sees the ghost of a father's love, a bond that transcends even death itself. All right, folks, we're wrapping up our King Lear study guide with a flourish. We've torn into the heart of this timeless tragedy, dissecting its scenes, characters, themes, motifs, and quotes like nobody's business. If you've savored this video and found it hitting the spot, don't hold back. Give us a nod with that thumbs up, share your musings in the comments, and hit subscribe to keep the good times rolling. And hey, if you're itching to polish up those language skills while immersing yourself in the world of Shakespeare, you best hustle over to bilingualbard.com for our stash of bilingual editions. Learning a new language has never been more tantalizing. Thanks for rocking with us. And until next time, keep exploring the riveting realms of literature and language with us at Bilingual Bard. Cheers.